Previously on the Beam Chronicles.
Which only left one question: what happened to Howard Prophit? We all should have guessed the devil would eventually get back into politics.
Come on, buddy. It's Charlie.
Charlie?
Who are we going to kill, Jaxon?
You shot me! You shot me!
Yes, but I told you I was going to.
I think Peter's changed. Dying kind of destroyed his spirit. He may be a bit more reserved, less annoying from now on.
Ah, there it is.
Oh, God.
Howie, no. Howie, please no.
Then suddenly Jaxon flew out the window with a deafening shatter.
Good to have you back, JT. Kinda missed you.
Murph was free. It was Phil's turn next. But we had to provide a replacement. Enzo had emerged as the perfect choice. I needed approval from the president to make the hire, and I had a meeting scheduled at the White House tomorrow. It was also December 28th tomorrow, the 2-year anniversary of the worst day of my life.
These are the Beam Chronicles, with your host, MJ Dooney. Book 3, Cataclysm. Chapter 3, Jaxon Teaque.
Presidents don't usually get sworn in during November and almost never during November of a non-election year, but when Howard Prophit woke up one day and thought, I think I want to be president now, he didn't realize how far away he was from getting the opportunity to try. And once he figured it out, he didn't much care. When Prophit wanted something to happen, it did, which is really all the more explanation required for how he managed to pull it off. The fortuitous bit of coincidence that really gave him the first domino was when scouting discovered the previous president's son was an anomaly. And I don't even remember what he could do. It was one of those stupid, not dangerous or useful ones. I think he floated or something, but he couldn't move in the air faster than he moved on the ground, so it was pointless. Anyway, Beam busted him, remedied the anomalistic capacities, if I recalled correctly, and that should have been that, had Prophit not taken a sudden magpie-style interest in that shiny new title he knew he could snatch up. Fear, of course, was the weapon he used to get the president impeached. Peter used his media influence to conveniently start publishing articles on the hereditary nature of anomalistic capacities, which Phil assured me were complete crocs, scientifically. Still, it was just the spark the people required to start believing strategically placed conspiracy theories that the president was an anomaly himself. It spread like wildfire, and soon the country turned on him, wailed for his resignation. He didn't resign because he wasn't an anomaly, but the witch hunt had already picked up too much steam for him to stand a chance. I testified at the impeachment. I had to tell Congress about Lindsay Flair's husband from 5 or so years ago, a man with the ability to manipulate others' emotions, distort their thoughts. Apparently it was enough, just that seed, just that possibility, combined with the fact that his son was an anomaly and the relentless bellows from the masses to convince everyone that the president was not only controlling their brains, he was controlling everyone in his administration's brain as well. I actively tried to point out that if he could control what we were thinking, why didn't he use that power to overcome this impeachment? But people came up with hand-wavy excuses to get around my protests. I guess I hadn't realized how little logic had to do with it by that point. They all went down for it. The entire cabinet, high-ranking congressmen, some of them stood trial. Most of them resigned just to escape the farce. It was a bloodbath for several months, trying to figure out how far down the line of succession we had to go to get to the next president, how deep we had to dig to find somebody uninfluenced by the former president's abilities. Until a representative out of Wyoming, a man called Eric Brady, who once upon a time stood against Beam until a 15-minute meeting with Prophit, calls for an emergency and instantaneous election for the new president of the United States, regardless of precedent, the fucking Constitution, legality. It was the only way to escape the mess without democracy crumbling. What remained of Congress went for it. Honestly, they must have realized democracy was crumbled and were merely granting a dictator his inevitably successful coup without any blood being shed and without losing their seats as well. Howie won the emergency election in a landslide, but it wasn't like any of it mattered. Interesting dramatics, a fun show, more typical travesty. Sure, it was all of that. Still, Howie owned the world before he swapped titles. President of the United States sounded great, but Howard Prophit's birth name instilled a higher level of fear and respect in the average person these days. Even in obsolescence, Beam was bigger, richer, more influential than the entire country, maybe the world, and with the whole organization, including Sydney and me, in his back pocket, who could stop him? Howie could exist outside of any set of laws with nobody to say anything about it. Sometimes I thought he set the whole thing in motion, all of it from the beginning, just to prove to himself that he could. Anyway, once Prophit won, Brady got his reward for his part and years of loyalty, the vice presidency, and Howie offered positions in his regime to most of the higher-ups at Beam, but everyone rejected him, except for Peter Cranston. Peter was awarded the honor of being the first Secretary of Anomalistic Affairs, a position that unfortunately made him the only person in the world save Howie with authority over me as head of Beam. Which, as I learned today when I went to the White House for my meeting with Prophit, apparently meant that whenever I wanted to say something to Howie, I had to run it by Peter first. This was new protocol set in place for me. Murphy refused to adhere to it for his month. And after being informed of it by the president's chief of staff, I reluctantly made my way through the halls of the West Wing to Peter's office instead.
Yeah, oh shit!
Jesus Christ. I blasted open the dead-bolted door with a little Teaque interaction to find Peter on the other side, spinning away and desperately hiking up his trousers as he stammered through his objection to my invasion.
The door was locked for a reason, Teaque.
He hissed as the pretty little blonde girl down on her knees blushed and stood up, staring at the ground to avoid looking at me. I can come back in 20 seconds if you want. I know you're an eager little guy. You probably don't last much longer than that.
Very funny.
He snapped, then covered his eyes in feigned embarrassment. It was hard for him to disguise this seedy, nasty pride.
Jaxon, this is my intern, Stephanie. Stephanie, I assume you recognize Jaxon Teaque.
Stephanie nodded, still averting her gaze, grabbing her wrist behind her back and hunching up her shoulders. You can do better, Stephanie.
Oh, don't be an ass.
I ignored the girl from there. I let her walk past me as she embarrassedly rushed out of his office. A part of me wanted to be kind to her. It would have been easy. She was soft and pure and sweet. She reminded me nothing of Charlie. I could have offered her a position at Beam to save her from Peter and his particular brand of filth, but I got caught up on just that notion. That Beam wasn't the filthiest place on Earth anymore. And I thought about how soft and pure and sweet I was when Charlie beat the shit out of me in the streets of the Capitol, pinned me on my knees under Guillermo. Stephanie was nobody to me. She could be on her knees if I was on my knees.
I'm not making her do anything she doesn't want to do.
How old is that girl?
18.
For some reason, this was the worst answer he could have given me. Any older, it would have been that much less disgusting. Any younger, would have been tragic, but at least I could get him tossed into buttfuck penitentiary for it. He smugly grinned as he strode around his desk and sat down.
Yeah, we don't usually hire freshman interns, but I got one look at Steph, and, well, I know I had a special position for her. Maybe more than one position, if you catch my drift.
There was a time after Foon killed him and he got resurrected when Peter was reserved and scared and borderline tolerable. All that faded away pretty quickly, especially with his new seat of authority, and his misguided hubris seeps back in like it had never left. Hard to wash grease out of a rat. She's practically a child. She's feasibly your child. You're a repulsive little troll. Did you know that? I sat across from him.
It's a good head.
He shrugged, typing something into his computer to seem unimpressed.
And your wife wasn't available anymore, so I made do.
I ignored the feeble jab. Frankly, it didn't sting that much, and I wanted to get past this hurdle as briskly as I could. Phil's leaving in a month. I have a name for his replacement. I need approval from Howie.
You need approval from me before you can request approval from the president.
Do I, though? Can you really stop me?
What's the name?
Enzo Skelton.
The Fly?
He looked up from the computer screen, wide-eyed in stunned terror, but hammy and overdramatically so. I made no effort to match his level of emotion, stoically waiting for his show to run its course.
Oh, no. It's simply out of the question. Now, I believe my office sent you a list I compiled of eligible candidates for the position.
I want Skelton. I'm not negotiating with you. I'll negotiate with Howie if I negotiate at all.
It cannot be Skelton.
Why not? I could guess I still wanted him to say it.
Fly is half of the infamous Fly-Foon duo, you moron.
I mean, I'll give the job to Foon. I'm pretty sure he's an idiot, though.
You cannot hire an anomaly, much less a convicted anomaly, straight out of the dungeon and into a high-ranking position of Beam.
First of all, without his tech, Enzo's not even an anom. He's just the smartest guy in the world next to Phil and Kowarski. Smarter than your whole list and willing to maintain the only department that's still valuable in exchange for a sentence easement. Second, the president's an anomaly. That the highest ranking position at Beam is held by an anomaly, the second highest by the wife of one, and the third highest by another anomaly. And the guy Skelton would be replacing is also an anomaly. There's definitely a precedent. We're pretty damned hypocritical.
Yes, well, that may be. But now I have say over this, and we're not just hiring new ones to replace the old ones as they go. We're trying to cut back.
A steady smirk crept over his weaselly face slowly, like dripping sap.
Or did you not get that memo 2 years ago today?
It took me aback. That he would so recklessly make a joke like that about her death. And the satisfied, fiendish grin he wore only indicated to me that he was waiting for the right moment to do it from the second I walked in the door. How many strikes were appropriate to give such a disgusting little worm? One? I'd give him one.
Can't believe I almost forgot. Damn near a holiday for me.
Okay, that was two.
What the?
He leapt backward in his seat as the computer flattened to the thickness of a sheet of paper with a cascade of sparks and a cacophonous bang. I telekinetically lifted the destroyed piece of scrap off his desk and chucked it at his head, giving him ample time to duck out of the way before I shattered it against the wall behind him.
What the hell is wrong with you? There was important documents on that computer.
Right. Sorry I destroyed all your anime porn.
Why would you do something like that?
You don't talk about her.
I am a member of the United States Cabinet. I will damn well talk about whatever I damn well please. You, on the other hand, don't get to destroy government property.
Somebody taught me a long time ago the best way to handle an obnoxious little tyrant swinging his dick around was to be swift and physical, otherwise he'd just keep pushing. Be happy. I don't carry a gun.
Yeah? Well, maybe you should stop taking life advice from an arrogant cunt who died in her 20s.
That was one too many. In a sick way, I was glad for it. In a sick way, all I ever wanted to do was beat the living shit out of someone. Anyone. Just to release all the pent-up frustration, but the people around me were too considerate, too sweet, never gave me anything close to a good reason to do it. Peter deserved it when I slammed his face into the desk, breaking his nose in 2 places, then played my favorite game of poke holes in his esophagus until he fell onto his knees, started heaving blood all over the floor. He deserved it for today. Yeah, for cavalierly taunting me over Charlie's death, for calling her names and insinuating he was glad when she died, but then he deserved it more for all the other days before this, the history. And as I collapsed his windpipe and held him against the wall, kicking and gasping and wiggling like a fish, clutching at his neck, eyes bugging out of their sockets, I realized how unjust the whole thing shook out to be. Everyone deserved to suffer for the history. Not just Peter. It wasn't even just Peter and Howie, not even just Beam. The whole fucking world. Who laughed and cheered as we were forced to slaughter, who urgently demanded a swift, clean genocide, who rooted us on or did nothing at all, sat at home while the equalizers painted the world red with the blood of helpless innocent people. History was all the more evidence, all the more justification I needed to surely state that everyone in the world deserved punishment for what happened to the anomalies. Were the world a fair place, it would have ended in universal agony. It should have. Instead, everyone got exactly what they wanted, except for me. I was the only person who paid the price. Even Charlie got away. Kill him! A familiar melodic voice like something from a distant dream rang out in my head, and so much death was already on my hands. I didn't dismiss the voice completely. Would it really be so horrible if I killed Peter Cranston right now? For who he was, for the history, for Charlie?
Attacking a member of the United States cabinet is considered an act of treason, Jaxon.
I recognized the collected voice of Howard Prophit right away, and I released Cranston into a panting, sputtering, sloppy mess of near unconsciousness on the floor. Not worth it. I slowly turned around and nodded to the president. Pardon me. He laughed out loud.
Of course. Technically, you didn't touch him, right? In any case, I was expecting you at my office 10 minutes ago. Don't you know it's rude to keep the president waiting?
Sorry, Howie.
Mr. President.
Some anonymous Secret Service guy flatly corrected me. Howie lifted his hand and shook his head.
No, Howie is fine for him. We're old friends.
I smirked. Not quite, but hearing this entire exchange was probably hurting Peter more than I had a few seconds ago, so I'd gladly milk it. Sorry, I missed our meeting. Cranston told me that any business of Beam had to pass through him before I brought it to you. He had me rerouted to his office when I got here. Prophet nodded in understanding.
Yes, well, I think if you get an appointment with me, you can circumvent the standard procedure. My schedule is too packed to allow for things to get canceled the last second, and I was looking forward to giving you some good news today. Furthermore, Peter is busy enough as it is, right, Peter?
Cranston made his way back to his feet, still breathing heavily and wiping blood off of his face, then somberly nodded. Yeah, seems like a really hard job. Wouldn't want to blow it, huh, Peter? He rolled his eyes, and as Howie gestured me to follow him out the door, I flipped Peter the bird. We walked past Stephanie's desk, right by Cranston's door. I dropped my business card on it. Whatever, man. I saved a lot of people who didn't deserve it.
So, how are you handling being the big boss now?
Howie asked without looking at me, pridefully strutting through the halls of the West Wing with me on his right, and 3 security guys following behind us. It's fine. Nothing too serious yet. Only been a week, though.
Yeah, that's quite right. I expect things will get at least slightly hairy soon enough for you. Nothing like the world I had to deal with, much tidier, but still. I'm sure you'll find your own set of challenges with the position, especially trying to balance it with a family and all. How is your wife, by the way?
She's good.
No trouble with being her boss or anything like that?
No, nothing yet.
Good. Let me know if that tension builds. I'll do what I can to ease it. Whoops.
Howie stumbled over a ripple in the rug, but before he could fall forward, I snatched him with my telekinesis and tipped him back upright.
Ooh.
He exhaled, slicking back his hair.
Thank you very much, old friend. Quite useful. I should have you around more often,
I smiled. Now, there was a time when I couldn't use my abilities on Prophet at all. He had some way of disabling the Teaque interaction when he wanted to. On one occasion, he disabled it entirely, trapped me in a room for a week while everyone thought I was dead. The first time I ever realized a window in which I could Teaque him, I tried it, and he briskly recovered the block, then tossed me out a literal window, second highest story of Beam Tower. These days, though, he walked through hallways next to me with his containment explicitly shut off. Why bother blocking me? It was more likely that I'd be helpful, catch him when he stumbled, than it was that I tried to hurt him again. I had no reason to continue making small talk with him without Peter around to get jealous. Can we just get to what I came here to talk about? I'm sure you're busy, and it should be quick. I just need a signed confirmation for Phil's replacement in a month.
Of course. Did you pick a name off of Peter's list?
No, I was thinking of going with Enzo Skelton.
Skelton?
He frowned, slightly taken aback, then transitioned into an accepting shrug.
Yes, all right. I'll sign off on that.
Really?
Certainly. He's a sharp enough fellow, knows the way things work around Beam. I'm sure he's looking for a spot of redemption.
He sternly pointed at me.
So long as you keep his vigilante ambitions in check.
I will. We've talked about it already a ton. Something like that may never 100% be out of his system, but I think he wants to improve on it.
If you think it can be managed, I trust you to manage it.
Yeah, and don't worry, from experience, I'm really good at figuring out when people are bullshitting about their recovery process.
Ha!
He guffawed, slapping me on the shoulder as we paced into the Oval Office.
Yes, I'm sure by now you're quite the expert on the topic, aren't you?
I smirked. Anyway, okay, you're good with Skelton?
I think so, yes. A fine choice. I'll have the appropriate documentation sent to you this afternoon. Look over it and we'll sign it together after lunch, all right?
Everything was easier and cleaner when Peter wasn't in the middle. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. President. I facetiously shook my head, and he grinned as I turned to walk out the exit.
Oh, Jackson, did you forget? There was some good news I wanted to give you.
Oh, duh. Sorry, Howie. I shuffled between the two guards back to the center of the room, sitting on the other side of his desk. What's up?
I thought we might start trying to find replacements for the members of Ava.
He explained, leaning back in his chair and steepling his fingers.
It seems foolish to have Sydney run a department of just himself.
You want to hire more anomalies to be equalizers? What for? We barely need the regular equalizers anymore.
Well, just to be safe, I suppose. And the particular person I have in mind would suit the role nicely, I think. Good knowledge of the field also might be of some personal impact to you.
I hated when he used this smarmy tone of voice, arrogantly holding some juicy secret close to the chest, and also probably overinflating how much I'd care. I did my best to disregard him, play it off as nothing. Oh, you mean Tyler? Yeah, I guess I was eventually gonna bring up the idea to you if I'm being honest, assuming he's still alive.
Not Foon.
He smirked, extending me a folded up piece of brown paper across his desk, which I leaned forward and reached for.
Someone much prettier.
I halted my hand halfway to accepting it, along with my heartbeat. No, it couldn't be.
Jackson?
Prophit shook the piece of paper impatiently. I snatched it out of his hands telekinetically because I didn't trust my fingers to operate with my pulse running so high. I unfolded it in my lap and read the letters. Forget the words. To hell with the concepts they represented. It was her name. Charlie Shade. And then an address. That was all it said. I beat the hell out of Peter Cranston 5 minutes ago for reminding me that Charlie was dead, but this cruel piece of paper. It's not funny, Prophit.
It's no joke, Teaque.
She's here. Charlie is at this address. He simply nodded once, beaming proudly. I stood up as I crumpled the brown paper in my hand, and my entire body shook from head to toe. Even my teeth were chattering, and not slightly. I was vibrating, shaking the ground beneath me like an earthquake. My ears were ringing, and my vision was tunneling. I couldn't decide if it was the joyous, exulted jubilation that Charlie was possibly alive, or the ravenous, furious wrath that this was the way he elected to tell me. Possibly it was my special way of expressing both at once. You found her.
I never lost her.
She was here the whole time? He nodded again. The wrath started to eclipse the joy. Bullshit.
It isn't.
Yeah, it really is. Because if she was alive all this time, she would have come back. She would have found me, unless you were... I finally looked up at his wry smirk, and the rage overtook me. As I stepped toward him, the paintings fell off the walls and the potted plants crashed off the end tables. Even Secret Service was too confused to stop me. Prophit, If you've been hurting her, I swear to God, I'll...
She is fine, Jaxon.
He stood and threw his hands up to indicate his innocence, the guiltiest rat bastard in the universe.
I didn't lay a finger on her. She's been sitting in that cabin at that address for 2 years, patiently waiting for this day to come, the 2-year anniversary of her death, when I could safely return her to you.
It's not possible.
I assure you it is.
No, she would have come back. She would have come back to me, and I watched her die.
I told her you had to believe she was dead. I told her if you had any indication that she was alive, the deal was off. I would have been forced to kill all of you to avoid some perilous circumstances if you did not believe she was dead. Her only options were to pretend to die convincingly or to watch the rest of you actually die.
You're saying she faked it?
Yes.
You're saying she lied to me when she fell apart in my fucking arms? You're saying that was a fucking act?
A good act, I might add. But our agreement only stood for these last 2 years. After that, I promised I would release all of you, independent of Beam's influence, entirely. 2 years are up, and as a man of my word, I return her...
He couldn't finish, because in my smoldering fury, I'd cut off his supply of air. You... I sputtered in a voice so distorted it didn't sound like my own, spitting in his face. You knew she was alive, and you let me... I couldn't bring myself to finish the sentence without snapping his neck. My lip twitched into a venomous snarl as I hissed. What the fuck have you done to me now?
He's choking the president!
A random Secret Serviceman finally had the awareness to shout, and all 3 of them drew their weapons on me. I effortlessly yanked the guns from their hands, tossed them through the ceiling with a downfall of debris, then shoved the men against the wall and held them there. After removing the brief distraction, I stepped closer to Prophit, gasping and clutching at his neck. You fight back, Prophit. I dared him, and his eyes widened with fear. Contain me. Shut me off. Come on. I'm not relenting on my own. Not after what you just told me. Not after knowing the mess that you created. Not knowing what you did to me and what you did to her. And I know you can do it. I know you can move things with your mind the same way I can. I've seen it. So where is it? You gone toe-to-toe with me once before, remember? You threw me out a fucking window. Fight back, you evil fucking bastard! Fight back! And his gagging face turned purple. He met my eyes and firmly, but slowly, shook his head. Is it gone? I asked flatly. You can't do it anymore. You can't contain me. He nodded with the same determined fear. But he'd so freshly reestablished to me what a liar he was. I needed more proof than his word. I released him from my grip, gave him 1 second to bend over his knees, sputtering for air, then smacked him up and across the face with my hand. Backed by enough Teaque interaction to send him airborne, he did nothing to deflect it, flew through the air, crumpled onto the floor, and then sat up against the wall, still coughing and bleeding and pleading for his life. Just a regular man.
Jaxon, please be reasonable. I am the president. You cannot...
I pulled one of the weapons, the ones I ripped out of the Secret Service guy's hands, back into the room through the hole in the ceiling, aimed it and fired before he even had a chance to realize it was there, and the bullet stopped, pressed into his forehead between his eyes, spinning in place against his skull, through the skin, so that blood dripped down his nose but not penetrating into his brain. He didn't catch it, though. I did. And the way his eyes were quivering, the way he sputtered and gasped, wide-eyed and shivering, frantic, I knew if I hadn't caught that bullet, it would have killed him. There's a faint buzzing in the back of my head like a distant, encouraging cheer, but I ignored it. You really did lose your power, I said coldly.
Yes.
He desperately panted, staring cockeyed at the bullet.
Yes, it is gone. I swear it. It's gone.
Once upon a time, it was all I ever wanted. I was free. And it was more than just Satan's word, his assurance that our business ventures were complete. I really, truly was free. He had nothing to control me, but I'd celebrate it once the room stopped spinning so fast. I let the bullet drop to the floor as I squatted in front of him, lowered myself to the level of his face, grabbed his tie, and yanked him so close to me I could smell the bourbon on his breath as he whimpered. I can't decide which would be better for you, if you're lying about Charlie or not. Because if you are lying, if I go to this address and she isn't sitting there waiting for me, I'm gonna come back and kill you for being so unfathomably cruel now that I know there's nothing you can do to stop me. And the only reason I'm not doing it right now is that I wouldn't dare deprive Charlie of that honor. If she really is alive and you made her sit and watch me marry someone else, you have fucked my life, our lives, for the very last time, Howard Prophit, and the only thing left to determine is which of the gods breaks your weak, feeble human little neck. So maybe it'll be an hour, maybe it'll be a day, who knows, but I'd suggest you take that time to develop one doozy of a contingency plan, the best one you've ever made. You're gonna need it to get out of this. I bolted straight up, lacerating a hole through the roof of the White House and dragging the rubble with me until I reached altitude, then jetted off in the direction of the address. I had no idea where I was going specifically, but I knew it was north and west, so that's the way I flew, fast as I could. How I eventually found it when I got closer, I don't even know. Quite frankly, I don't remember anything about the trip beyond the fervent, buzzing, psychotic, eager lightning skipping across my brain as I dashed this way and that at breakneck speeds, hunting, searching. My body was adrenaline, bile and fire. My mind was all disjointed, colorful blur, a frenzied, chaotic rush just to get there. Get there. Get to that house that contained my happiness, my everything. A shitty old cabin barely standing upright, hiding in the thick brush of the coniferous wilderness, with no people or civilization in sight for miles in any direction. And all my anger, my impatient rage, my diligent, focused fury, the teeth-chattering, ground-shaking, unbridled wrath, drifted into thin air the very instant that I saw her sitting there on the front porch. It was as if the last 2 years, the last 2 dank, wretched, lonely, worthless, drunken, empty, pointless years were rectified in a flash. Her long brown locks tied up behind her head. Beautiful, icy blue eyes staring sadly into the dirt beneath her big black boots. She still wore that trench coat, bare midriff exposing her chiseled perfect abs, 4 fingers on either hand ringing in her lap, and on her one arm that zigzaggy pattern of scars where she'd burned her arm fighting Foon for killing me. If it wasn't Charlie, it was the perfect imitation of her. If it wasn't Charlie, it was good enough to fool me, the man who knew her best. I began, but the lump in my throat prevented me from finishing. One last roadblock holding me back from fixing everything that was wrong. I swallowed it, wiped my mouth, tried again. Charlie. She glanced up at me, black bags sagging under her gorgeous eyes, and twitched one side of her mouth up briefly in her classic uncommitted smile.
Hey, JT. I kinda missed you.
Thank you for listening to The Beam Chronicles, a fiction podcast written and produced by me, MJ Dooney. You can follow the show on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. If you want to email me, beamchronicles@gmail.com, and if you want to help me out, 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can also send me monetary support if you're so inclined. Buy me at coffee.com/beamchroniv, that's BEAMCHRONIV, or just click the support the show link in the description. All music and sound effects were sourced from the Epidemic Sound Library. Special thanks to Sergio Duarte for creating the cover art for the show, and thanks again for listening.